So let's start. Today we will talk about call and I want to introduce you Didier Foulon. He's from Belgium, the World Athletics referee gold and technical delegate from World Athletics, and World Athletics International Technical Official and Technical Delegate. This kind of video conference, please next one, Didier. I think all of you see in another videos, because this is a kind of preparation of candidates for the next WARECS evaluation session of World Athletics, and it's Continental Associations schedule for April 2023. And this series of video conference, we will try to do the same way in French, in English, and in Spanish. And in English today, we will have with Didier. Didier, it's with you.
Okay, so first of all, some recommendations, some guidelines. Please attempt to keep your microphone on mute and raise your question, if any, in the chat room. So we'll be able to answer all those questions afterwards at the end of the presentation. In case of additional question later on, don't forget you can also send your question to sportsconag@gmail.com. So, like Claudia mentioned, let's start with the call room. So first of all, why do we have a call room? What's the behavior? So the call room is the athlete's entry point towards the competition area. So it's coming between the warm-up area and the field of play. Therefore, the purpose is to supervise the transit of the athletes between the warm-up area and the competition area, guaranteeing that those athletes are present and ready at the competition area for the scheduled start of the event, and that athletes have been checked before the event. So the first and main point of a call room is to welcome the athletes to the competition and to validate that they will go on the field of play with the allowed items only and on time. Having said that, we have to keep in mind that the athletes are just before their competition. So they have to be able to concentrate, but they are also nervous, eager to compete. And as an official, we have a lot of activities, a lot of verification to be performed. For instance, we have to check if they have the appropriate bib number, 1 or 2, depending of the event. If their uniform is wearing the appropriate advertising, if they are wearing the proper uniform, if they have the correct spikes lengths. We have to check the bags for the field events, so because the athletes will go with their bags, so we have to check their bags in order to validate if they are bringing with them any unallowed items, etc. So I will come back later on that. So it's really recommended that before even joining the call room, that the teams and the athletes are warned about what are the performed checks in the call room. And we as officials have to perform such kind of checks in calm and in respect of the athletes. So, as I said, we have to supervise the transit of the athlete between the warm-up area and the competition area to ensure that the athletes, after being checked in the call room, will be present on time and ready to compete for their event. This means that for the call room referee, he will have the authority for any disciplinary matter from the warm-up area to the competition area. And like I mentioned just before, a lot of activities have to be performed in a very short time, but continuously, because we have event after event to repeat the same with other set of athletes. So an upfront preparation is really key to succeed. For instance, the number of available bays or number of athletes per base must be known upfront, so that a detailed schedule like displayed here might be documented per session. Such detailed schedules is prepared by the call room chief judge in conjunction with the competition director. The detailed schedule is given to us, the officials, so that they know exactly when the athletes will come to the call room, when they have to leave the call room, in which bay the athlete have to be put, etc., etc. While for the athletes and the team, they must receive a simplified view with per event when the call room is opening, by when the call room will close, and by when the event will start. And last but not least, each bay must be ready to be used when the athletes are coming. It's not when the athletes are coming. List must be ready to be used when the athletes are coming, not when the athletes are coming. Someone can be put on mute. Yeah. So,
I'm trying to mute Emily, but I can't. Sorry, Emily, can you put mute? Sorry about that, Didier.
problem. No problem. It was giving an echo. Was saying that each bay must be ready to be used when the athletes are coming into the call room. So it's not when the athletes are coming inside the call room that we have to start to put the backs or the hip number on their chair. Everything must be ready when the athletes are coming in, so that all the athletes have the feeling that they are welcome to their events. And so here we can see on the right-hand side of the slides a photo from the last European Indoor Championship, in which we can see the name of the event, the number of the bay, and also the box below each chair, allowing to welcome the athlete. So each athlete can prepare himself properly. I will not dive to all the different rules that are listed on the slides. They are just there as a reference towards your rule book, so that you can read those rules later on. But I'm attempting to just speak about the rule by presenting the different slides. So timing is the most important stuff in a call room. The time flies, and especially in a call room. So the athletes will be there for 10 minutes, sometimes 15, but that's very rare. So any athletes failing to report on time to the call room will be set as do not start. So it will be set as DNS in the results. This means that the athletes will not be allowed to compete in the specific event, but more than that, he will not be allowed to compete in any next event in the same competition. So regarding the validation, the verification that the call room judge will do, we have, for instance, that the call room judge have to ensure that the athletes are wearing the national or the club uniform clothing officially approved by their national governing body or the international governing body, depending the kind of competition that on which we are. Sorry. The official will have also to validate, to guarantee that the bibs are worn correctly and correspond with the start list. It may happen that the athletes are coming with the bibs of another athlete. So we really have to validate that the athlete is wearing bibs, but the correct one. And they are worn properly, so they cannot be folded, cut, or any other manner. So really proper wearing about the bibs. And afterwards, we have to validate about the shoe, the number and dimension of the spikes, the advertising on the clothing or the uniform, and all the rules and regulation regarding the advertising on the box also have to be checked. And last but not least, and sometimes it's the most difficult part, we have also to check if the athlete is not attempting to go on the field of play with an unauthorized material. For instance, to have his mobile phone or any device allowing him to communicate with the coach. Anything about a computer or another implements. So all those kind of stuff is forbidden to be brought on the field of play. And so it's highly recommended to put on the wall in the call room and on the way towards the call room about what are the items that will be checked and removed from the back so that there is no conflict appearing between the athletes and the official during the check. As we are performing such kind of check, we have to be ready as official to perform any replacement or to confiscate items. So as we were checking, as we have to check the bibs, we have to be able to give back another bibs in case we detect a problem on an athlete. So ideally, we should have a printer either in the call room or nearby in order to be able to print a new bib for the athletes. And as we are speaking about bibs, we should have also pins in order to for the athletes to attach it to his uniform. We have to check the advertising. So if we are detecting something which is unallowed regarding the advertising, we need to have some tapes in order to hide such kind of unallowed advertising. And so therefore, to do that, we need to have tapes in different colors in order to avoid to have always everything in black on the athlete. So we are attempting to tape with an appropriate color versus the uniform. We have to validate the spikes dimension or the advertising dimension. So therefore, we need some materials in order to perform such kind of validation in a quick manner. And so we need to have the appropriate material to measure it efficiently. And last but not the least, in case we have to confiscate item, we need some bags and some tickets, like we can see on the slides, in order to put the confiscated item inside, and so that the athletes can take it back afterwards from either the post-event control or from the TIC, thanks to tickets that he will have received in the call room. So, as a reminder, the purpose is to respect the planned schedule. So it's very important to send the athlete as planned, except if for any reason there will be a delay on the field of play. In such case, we'll not send the athletes on the field of play directly because it will be just a mess over there, because we have already a delay on the field of play. So the athlete should be kept aside without blocking the incoming athletes to the call room, because the flow of the athlete will continue. It's not because we have a delay on the field of play that the call room is stopping working. So we have to onboard and welcome the next set of athletes. And so either we have a kind of waiting area between the call room itself and the field of play, or we can use, if we have any unused bay at that moment, in order to allow the athletes to wait before going on the field of play. So a well-planned and efficiently managed call room is really fundamental to the success of a competition. The planning to ensure sufficient space at the point when the call room will be at its fullest capacity, how many bays are required, a reliable communication system with the other official in order, for instance, to know if we have a delay, so it will be in communication with the technical delegates, and the possibility to notify the athletes when to report from the warm-up area are very, very important. It's really key that we are doing our best to call the athletes from the warm-up area in order to avoid that they are late in the call room. So, as I mentioned, in case the athlete is coming too late in the call room, even by 1 or 2 minutes, he should be set as do not start, so he cannot compete, and he will not be able to compete anymore in the same competition. So we have also a role to play, even if it's the responsibility of the athletes and the team to be on time in the call room. We also, as officials, have a role to play over there to guarantee that we are doing our maximum in order to prevent such kind of situation. Obviously, other considerations will vary according to the type of the competition, the number of checks which is decided that will be performed in the call room. For example, a school meets will certainly be different than an international competition. But the checks have to be performed in order to guarantee that we are aligned between the different kind of competition for the most important part of the check. So having said that, it's really important that in the planning process, it's determined which check will be made in order to communicate such kind of procedure to the athletes and the team in advance, so that we can reduce their stress and confusion, which may appear just before a competition. So the call room is an important step into the competition. Most of the athletes are not really used when they are starting to be at an international level to have such kind of call room. So even if they will certainly not win the competition from the call room, but they may lose the competition from a call room if we are putting them into too much stress, they will not be able to compete properly afterwards. So we have to do all the necessary, we have to take all the necessary action upfront in order to prevent that we are putting them in an additional stress than needed. And from the call room is the moment in which we are starting to guarantee to ensure that the athletes are placed in the correct heat, in the correct race, or in the correct field, even group, and that they are leaving for the competition area in a timely manner. And all of this is performed in accordance with the call room schedule that which is displayed as an example on this slide. So this is ending the presentation for the call room. So now it's time for the question. I will check in the chat if we have some.
Olive, we have one question.
For competition in case when there is an extreme. Yes. Indeed. So for competition in case, I suppose when the athlete is too late in the call room, but due to external circumstances, can the athlete be allowed to enter the competition? So indeed, in case an athlete is blocked due to a transport performed by the lock towards the from the warm-up or towards the warm-up, from the hotel to the warm-up or from the warm-up to the call room, that due to the transport, the athlete is late, this can be taken into consideration and we may allow the athlete to enter the competition as long as it's still possible to enter the competition. Next question is, can you tell us about interesting and difficult situation I had to deal with? Yes, so often, not often, but I encounter one nice case in the past where for the first field event in the para-athletics game, the first event of the session, 3 athletes were not on time in the call room. And it was impossible to determine if we had an external cause leading to the fact that we had 3 athletes too late at the call room. So in order to not lose the possibility to allow them because, for instance, the transport will not be on time, I took the decision to allow the athletes to go on the field of play under protest, giving us the time to perform the proper investigation on the reason why they are late. So as they were really late, so they went on the field of play before ending such kind of investigation. And during the event, it was confirmed that nothing was preventing any of those athletes to be on time at the call room. So it was decided that those athletes will be set as DNS. So this is obviously a bit of a pity because they compete, they had results, but at the end, the protest was rejected in order to, and we set the result as DNS. So that was an interesting and difficult situation that we had to deal, because one of those 3 athletes had won the competition. What happens if an athlete failed to show up in call room 1 but arrive and show up in call room 2? I don't like the naming call room 1 and call room 2 first. We may have 2 rooms, but it has to be considered as 1 call room. Or we may have 2 different places, and one will be only a gathering point in which it's only to take the athletes, for instance, from the warm-up area and to go together towards the call room. And so it's the first is only, between quotes, only a meeting point. And then we arrive to the real call room. So in this situation, when we have only a gathering point, a meeting point, and afterwards the call room, only the second place might be considered from a time perspective. And so there, if the athlete fails to be at the meeting point on time, but arrive and show up in the call room on time, it will be considered as okay. If we have 2 places for the call room, is the first entry point, which has to be considered as the entry point in the closing time. In combined event, is it advisable for the athletes to go direct to the competition area after call room, or to go and keep their belongings in the restroom first, then proceed to completion? For the combined events, they are going to the call room for the first event. And afterwards, it will depend. And to go from one event to another, it will depend from competition to competition, if they can go or not towards the resting area. But afterwards, they will not go between each event towards the call room. It's between either they are remaining on the field of play, or they are going to the restroom and go afterwards directly to the field of play. What will happen to an athlete who did not turn up to the call room but entered directly to start of 100 meters? That would be a strange situation in an international competition, because it would mean that the security let an athlete going in immediately without following any judge or volunteer. But normally, so if such case happen, we have to disqualify or to put the athlete as DNS because he was not in the call room.
Didier, I think Olive wants to talk. Olive, please.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just figure it's easier to ask, if you don't mind. Okay, 2 questions. Is a call room required for every accredited World Athletics event? So if this is a bronze level event, we have some events in Jamaica where once the heat sheets are produced, persons are saying that they need to go straight to the call room, go to the start of the event instead of going to a call room. Are call rooms required for every single recognized event?
I'm not sure if I get the proper question, but
okay. So we have an event in Jamaica where the organizers are saying, no, you don't need a call room. We have heat sheets. You go directly to the starters assistants to go into it. Is that proper?
If there is no call room at all at the competition.
No. The heat sheet, then you go directly to the start of the competition.
So if there is a call room, the athlete is forced to go to the call room. They cannot enter the field of play without going to the call room if a call room exists at the competition. And for international competition, a call room must exist.
Okay. Just a second question, just throwing out something at you, sir, with your valuable experience I'm feeling. What sort of questions would you consider good, a normal question that would be asked regarding the call room on the, would be asked in the exam? An example of a question regarding the call room.
A situation in which the athletes are late due to XY reason, and to explain why you would accept or not accept the reason given by the athletes, or the action that you will do in order to validate if those reasons are valid or not, because the athletes can and the teams can be very creative. So it's not because we don't trust them, but we have to validate that what they are telling is the truth or not. So to explain what you will take as action in order to solve the situation. Or the athlete is coming with the beeps of another one, and what do you do at that moment when you realize that he's wearing the beep of another athlete? So from question, I'm really see to put some situation in order to understand how you are behaving in such kind of situation. What will be your steps as referee in the call room to manage it as best as you can.
Thank you very much. That was definitely a good clarification.
Okay, thank you. We attempt to continue to find back where we were in the chat about the question. Yes, still regarding the combined event, is the restroom the call room for the rest of events after the first events? So it's not considered as a call room, but it's from where the athletes will start in order to go back to their next event in case they were allowed to go back into the restroom. And it's where they will receive also the special beeps when they are coming out of the restroom. They will receive the special beeps to highlight who is the current leader of the competition. How do we treat with athletes that missed the call room for one event because they were competing in another event at the time of the call room closed for the second event? That's a special situation. So if an athlete is participating into two events, obviously we'll not force him to go back to the call room in case he's still competing in the first event. So that's really a special situation for which we are warning and we are informing the call room that the athlete is already on the field of play. We have already checked the athlete so that the official for the other event, let's suppose two field events, they know where the athlete is currently located. And so the athlete will have to go from one event to the other event when he will have finished the first event, or if it's a really simultaneous event, he will have to, between coach, jump from one event to the other, but he doesn't have to go via the call room in order to participate to the second event. There is no more question in the chat itself, so Do we have any other question?
Somebody has a question, can open the microphone.
Hello,
Clarice?
I'm Clarice. Yeah. Hello, Clarinha. Hello, Didier.
Hello, Clarice.
You spoke about the case of one athlete appears with a different bib, which was not his bib. What should we do? In this case, we just need to ask him to bring the correct bib, right? There's no other form to let him get in the event.
Yeah, so it will depend when we are realizing that it doesn't have the proper bib. So let's suppose that he's already in the call room. He doesn't have any way to go out of the call room.
Okay.
So we are not forced, but if we have the possibility to print new bibs
A new
for
bib.
the athletes, it will be better than to just say you don't have the proper bib and you are not allowed to compete. So that's where it's always recommended to have a printer and some spare bibs available, so empty bibs, in order to be able to replace what the athlete has.
Okay, so if the organization has this kind, well, in international competitions, this probably happens often. So if the organization has this kind of the materials where we can print it easily, a bib, we just need to inform the technical delegate probably and the seat that athlete will change the bib, the number.
In case we are not able to replace the bib, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, in case we cannot replace, yeah, we have to inform and to see if we are allowed to send the athletes with another bib, because we don't have the time to replace, and we have to cross-check if the athlete is allowed to enter the competition with another bib than his own bib.
Yeah, okay. It was just to clarify that. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Olive, please.
If there are no other questions, are there any circumstances in which an athlete can compete without a bib? Suppose they forget their bib, there's no printing available. Can an athlete or they can do a makeshift, can an athlete compete in a international cup without a bib?
I don't know any circumstance for which I would allow an athlete to enter without bibs. So finishing an event without bibs might happen in case of really a lot of obstruction or jostling in an event. So the athlete the bibs can fall down, but allowing an athlete to enter the field of play without bibs, it will be, I don't know, at least I don't know in which circumstance this will be allowed. We have an extra question in the chat. How would an athlete appear with a wrong bib? by taking the one of a colleague by mistake. Simply. It might be his colleague in the same room.
I think Omatse wants to talk from Nigeria.
Yep.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to react to the question of an athlete not having a bib going into a competition. I would rather say that, like you said, there should be no circumstance that should allow an athlete go into a competition area without a bib. The bib numbers are a prearranged set of numbers that the athlete should know and the officials should be aware of. In a situation or the event that the athlete comes without a bib, we can always do a temporary one, even if it's a piece of paper and writing the bib number. I think that is enough for the athlete to be able to fairly compete. But allowing the athlete go in without any form of identification is not allowed. That's my take. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed.
So, somebody have some doubt? I can say thank you to Didier, and if there is a question, you can send to ISCA or to the person who share with you the link of this session. So at the end of the many visions that we have this month, we can return in some questions. And I think today we will have, or tonight for some people, we will have a video with Carlos Barrios, but it will be in Spanish about events out of stadium. Okay, Didier, thanks again. Thanks everybody to stay here at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Didier. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.